see me on a show, when you see these fans, you know you've got the best in the damn world.
This is the Wrestling Matters podcast where we stand up for professional wrestling.
Here we fucking go!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another installment of the Wrestling Matters podcast. That's right. Hope you guys are well. Hope you guys are well in whatever it is you're doing. And what a week in the world of professional wrestling, ladies and gents. That's right. We're going to talk Raw, Wrestlemania, Smackdown, Ring of Honor, TNA, Impact Wrestling, and ICW. All the highs and lows and best points and bullet points and fucked up points and whatever on today's show. Also, a few things here and there as well. Also, WWE getting involved in the Hardy versus Impact Wrestling lawsuit battle. More on that later on. Also, Roman Reigns is a heel, as far as I'm concerned. Again, more on that later on. You'll probably get that in the WrestleMania review as well. And the Hardys are back. Broken Hardys, broken hearts, ladies and gentlemen, as the Max Wrestling podcast said this past week. The Broken Hardys are back, the Hardy Boys are back, and yes, unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to the dead man, as you probably heard at the beginning of the podcast with that little audio. So, yeah, and you will hear mostly of that as well during this podcast as well. But anyway, speaking of Max Wrestling, Swerve Talk Network is where you can also find the Max Wrestling podcast, along with me, Wrestling Matters, Ruthless Aggression Era podcast, Wrestling's Worst, S&M Show podcast, Wrestling Unleashed, featuring Michael Larkin and yours truly, Offshoot Radio, Sunday Segway, the list goes on and on. Each and every week, guys, go and check them out. You know it makes sense, and you will not be disappointed. Mystery Island, facebook.com// Mystery Island, facebook.com/Back to the Island to check them out as well. Also, shout out to the partners, OSW TV, Raging Falcon, RFPW Network, Talk, I'll say that again, Talk Brunch, Rick Dara, shout out to you, sir, and the list goes on and on. Check out Talk Brunch each and every Monday after Raw, and whenever they are as well. Just keep up to them if you want more information on that, at Talk Brunch on Twitter. Also, ladies and gents, you can also check out the Wrestling Matters podcast on the Wrestling Matters channel, youtube.com/AJW Wrestling Matters. Also at WM Podcast on Twitter. SoundCloud as well. Look us up on SoundCloud. Download us free, as well as look up Radio Big World, because you can also find it on there as well. Look them up on SoundCloud. Now, we've got all that out the way, guys. I'm going to drop out here a little bit, because I'm going to play an audio this past week that I did on Crumpets and Tea Gaming YouTube channel. That's right, it's a gaming channel, but he's been doing podcasts lately, and this past week he messaged me, the site messaged me to host their podcast, which is the Revolution Talk Show. And the reason why they did it is because it was WrestleMania. It was all about WrestleMania. And I am going to give my shoot right now. I'm going to play the full audio, and then in part 2, I will play the raw audio as well, because I managed to get the raw audio in as well. Part 2, I will play the raw audio, like I say. But in the first part right now, you're going to listen to the full WrestleMania review audio. I'm not going to play the full audio of the whole show. I'm just going to play the audio from WrestleMania, my review on WrestleMania, and then in part 2, I will talk about Raw, and I'll play the Raw audio as well. So look out for them now, and I'll be back in part 3 with SmackDown and Ring of Honor, and the rest of the stuff that is to come on this podcast as well. Little disclaimer though, guys, you might hear this is not perfect. This might not be, or this might not come across perfect to you. I don't know. But like I say, this was recorded on Discord. This was a live podcast on a Tuesday night, 11 p.m. UK time on the Crumpets and Tea Gaming YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel if you like games, video games, and listening to podcasts as well. Because they don't just talk about wrestling. You only do that on the occasion because the leader of the channel does not have a damn clue about wrestling, and apparently from his Twitter anyway this past week he calls me a wrestling genius. Well, I don't know if I'm a genius, but I know my fair share of wrestling. So who does he get to host? yours truly. So, this was recorded on Discord. This was live and it just came through Discord. So if the audio is a little iffy, I apologise, but that's live stuff for you, ladies and gentlemen. We can only do the best that we can with what we got. But I hope you guys enjoy it. This is an uncut shoot at me being totally honest, not bullshitting you guys, of the way I felt about WrestleMania. And in part 2, you will listen to the way I felt about Monday Night Raw also. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll be back fully as this in part 3 with SmackDown and Ring of Honor as well. So stay tuned and enjoy. Give me the green light. I'm ready to go. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, it is me, the HEAD, your favorite podcast host for the Revolution Talk Show. Yes, it's wrestling, and yes, he's called me, asking me to do wrestling, be the host and everything. So here I am. And he's picked the perfect time to do it as well, because this past Sunday, April 2nd, and the main topic, as you can probably gather on the title, is WrestleMania. So this is what we're going to do. This is exclusive to the Crumpets and Tea Gaming channel. So, what a WrestleMania, eh, guys? Hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I blooming did. A lot of shocking moments. Never expected in a wildest dream some of the stuff that happened. Awesome moments, which we'll get to. And probably some moments that, quite frankly, I couldn't give two flying fucks about. But hey, it was what it was, ladies and gentlemen. And it was actually a really good WrestleMania. Not the best, but it was good nonetheless. Let's get the pre-show out the way. Oh, damn it. I still don't understand why this was the pre-show. Was on the pre-show. Cruiserweight champion Neville and Austin Aries. Epic match. Like I suggested. And I talked about this on my podcast as well. The Wrestling Matters podcast as well. Really? You know, why was this not on the main card is beyond me. But a little shocking thing about it was Neville actually won, which I didn't expect, quite frankly. I thought they would have given it to Austin Aries. But fair enough. Neville won. It was the right way to go? No. I don't, quite frankly. But it was what it was, ladies and gentlemen. It was what it was. Was it an epic match? Yeah, I knew that. I mean, these two were the only things, the only two wrestlers, to be fact, that were keeping the 205 brand going. Because I'll be honest with you, nothing's really caught my eye on the 205. I mean, 205 is good, don't get me wrong, but, you know, it's got to grab my attention. You know, grab it. But it didn't. I mean, these two were the only two things good about the whole show, the whole brand, in fact. But like I said, the Cruiserweight Championship, to be honest with you, should have been on the friggin' main card, but it wasn't. Like I said, it was an epic match. It was an epic match. It really was. And it was definitely the ultimate thrill ride, but anyway. I can understand why they put the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on the pre-show now. Because, let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, Braun Strowman didn't win. Everybody was expecting Braun Strowman to win. And then, as I was watching the pre-show and I was watching the whole Battle Royal, just a standard normal Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, ladies and gentlemen, for fuck's sake. I probably should have guessed, if I'm being honest with you, considering the way they built him up on SmackDown. But Mojo Rawley won the 4th annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. For fuck's sake. I probably should have saw this coming, to be honest with you, but I was so high and mighty and hoping that Braun Strowman would win. It was the way that he was built because, you know, he got into this little feud on SmackDown with Dolph Ziggler, and it was all that way he was being built. And what the fuck the NFL player was doing there for, I don't know, and quite frankly, I could care less. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, Mojo Rawley won the 4th annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I bet you Zack Ryder loved that. Let me tell you, I bet he did as well. But it's just the thought, because a lot of people I talk to, a lot of wrestling fans I talk to, that can't stand Mojo Rawley. They really hate this guy. And I tweeted it out on Sunday night as well. Wow, Mojo wins the Battle Royal. Good grief. I mean, which kind of leads me match for the pre-show, and the final match on the pre-show before the main card, which saw Dean Ambrose defend the Intercontinental Championship against last year's winner of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, the third winner of the Battle Royal, in fact, Baron Corbin. God, 1 year later, and Mojo Rawley's competing for the Intercontinental Championship. That's a thought. Anyway, Rose to win this match, and it, like I said, maybe Baron Corbin's not ready to be Intercontinental Champion or be a champion yet. And to be honest, there's talk of him being WWE champion at some point. But yeah, Dean Ambrose. They probably should have had 2 matches on the pre-show, to be honest with you, both filling both hours, but they didn't. They had to put another one on, and unfortunately, this was it. This was the replacement for a match that was originally scheduled for the pre-show until a backlash changed WWE's mind and said, oh, yeah, we'll put it on the show. I'll get to that later on, though. But yeah, it was a good match. It was what it was. Dean Ambrose defeated Baron Corbin. Baron did a good show as well, match, but I knew Dean was going to win, to be honest. The time is not ready for Baron Corbin. And like Iron Fist Law says in the chat on the Crumpets Tea Gaming channel, the IC title match became a throwaway match. And you know what? He's 100% right. He's 100% right. And welcome in the chat, by the way, Iron Fist, as well. Now to the main card of the whole. Basically, now we got rid of the 3 throwaway matches, or throwaway matches. One shouldn't have been a throwaway match, but anyway. AJ Styles and Shane McMahon. Now, everybody was thinking, oh, AJ Styles, this is not his type of match. He shouldn't be doing this match. And this is beneath AJ Styles for wrestling Shane McMahon. But Jesus Christ, these two had a good match. And it was a wrestling match as well. That was the thing. It was an actual wrestling match. The guy. I mean, AJ Styles is the phenomenal AJ Styles for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. He is not. It's not a gimmick. He is the best wrestler in the company, at least one of them anyway. And Shane McMahon went toe to toe and wrestled this guy and hanged with the mighty AJ Styles. That's a thing that I never thought I'd hear myself say. Because Shane's many things. Granted, he's not the best wrestler in the world. But this guy's got a pair of bollocks on him, seriously. The things that he's done in the past and the risks that he's took and everything. I mean, highlight of the match, basically knocking AJ Styles out with a trash can when he did the coast to coast. He jackpot. I think AJ tried the move, but Shane was like, you do my move, motherfucker? I'll stick the trash can in your face, and knocked him out with it. But Shane, match, yes, he lost. AJ won. It's kind of what I was hoping for, considering what happened last year, because apparently somebody came up with an idea, oh yeah, let's make Chris Jericho beat him last year. Okay. But the supposed face that runs the place back down. And I'm looking forward to seeing SmackDown, which is, as we're doing this right now, tonight. I'll probably watch it tomorrow morning. Went down. The fallout from this, to be honest. But yeah. Shane McMahon's a crazy bastard. He even did a shooting star press, which kind of reminded me of WrestleMania 19 when Brock Lesnar did it, at least attempted to do it to Kurt Angle and nearly broke his neck in the process and drove his face right in the canvas. Shane McMahon hanged with AJ Styles, and I was pleasantly surprised that this match was actually good. Because I'll be honest, deep down, in a way, 50%, this had the potential to stung. Stick the joint out. Jim McMahon, and I hope all the haters and all the doubters, oh, Shane McMahon doesn't deserve to be in the match with AJ Styles. I hope they threw them out the window and basically stuck a middle finger right in all their faces. Because in my opinion, he did. Fair play to him for doing so. Welcome in survey as well in the chat. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing this on the Crumpets Tea Gaming channel, in case you hadn't noticed. That's why I mentioned in the chat. Well, and Chris Jericho for the Universal, for the United States Championship. In fact, the Universal title is later. It was basically a pretty, predictable match. Basically, a pretty predictable match indeed. Kevin Owens, and like what Chris Jericho did at Fastlane, he cost Kevin Owens the Universal Championship. So what does Kevin Owens go and do? He beats him and takes his US belt. Yes, Kevin Owens is like the United States champion now. I never thought in my wildest dreams. I didn't even know, in fact, that that's actually Kevin Owens now the United States champion. I didn't think that Kevin Owens, I thought he was already US champion, but he wasn't. I know he was Intercontinental champion, but this is his first title reign as US champion, which was a little surprising as well. But a very good match between the two. They did well. And Kevin Owens is now the United States champion. And obviously they had to drop the title from Chris because Chris is away in May. He's got one more month left, rather, of and then in May he's away doing what was it? Fozzy. That's it. He's got Fozzy dates because he's the lead singer of Fozzy. So yeah. You'll have to wait and see on that one as well, whether he'll be back or not. I would imagine if he goes away in May, he'll be back sometime before SummerSlam, I would imagine. But yeah, that's probably the reason why they've dropped the title on him. If I have time, I'll talk about Raw later on. Like I predicted, and like I suggested and thought, Kevin Owens is now the United States champion, which is, like I said, makes more sense for Kevin Owens to win the match, considering what Chris Jericho did at Fastlane when he cost Kevin Owens the Universal Championship to Goldberg. So, yeah, it was what it was. Shout out to everybody in the chat, by the way. Now we get to the Raw Women's title. What was the triple threat match became a fatal four-way match by adding Nia Jax to Sasha Banks, Charlotte, and Bayley, the champion. The champion and still is the champion, and she defended her title successfully. Nia Jax was dominant in the match for a brief period of time, and then she dropped the ball, basically. Eliminated, and then it came down to Charlotte and Bayley. And at that point, I thought Charlotte was going to become five-time women's champion. But thankfully, she didn't, and Bayley became the women's champion and still is the women's champion. And hopefully she will have a long title reign with the Raw Women's title. And to be honest with you, this should have been on the pre-show, if I'm being honest with you, considering what they've been doing with the women's title anyway, playing hot potato or pass the parcel with it on Raw lately, with Charlotte and Sasha and that. But hopefully now everything's been settled. We've got a fresh champion as women's champion on Raw. Hopefully, and I pray that Bayley has a little bit of a couple of months, maybe longer, title reign. Hopefully. But this is WWE we're talking about, and WWE, with their booking, is diabolical at times, I will admit that. But Bayley is the women's champion. It'll be interesting to see what happens next. Now we have the fun part of the whole show, gentlemen. And I'm going to give you the scoop on a few things here, so this might take a while. A triple threat match for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Anderson, Enzo Amore and Big Cass, and Cesaro and Sheamus. That was the original plan. For the Raw Tag Team Championships, was what it was. And then New Day comes out. And everybody thinks, oh, yeah, New Day. New Day's going to insert themselves into the match and everything. And, oh, yeah, yada, 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 yada. Thankfully, they didn't. Thing that I expected, and I had rumors about this. And there was a video on YouTube about it as well, but I didn't believe. It was like one of them things where you believe it when you see it. The Hardy Boys are back. Yeah. And the match became a fatal four-way. Right. It became a fatal four-way for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Jeff Hardy, the craziest bastard in professional wrestling I've ever met him, or I've ever seen. The pleasure of, swanton bomb off the top of a ladder, driving Cesaro through a ladder onto the arena floor. No one can tell me Jeff Hardy's a crazy motherfucker. And he is. I don't care, man. Jesus Christ. The thing was that I think he was meant to put Sheamus through it as well, but Sheamus's ladder didn't break. So poor Cesaro got the brunt of that. And while that was happening, Matt Hardy goes in the ring, climbs up the ladder, and the Hardys won the Fatal 4-Way and what became the Fatal 4-Way, and they walk out of WrestleMania with the Tag Team Championships. An epic match, stole the show, and the last thing I thought that, the fucking Hardy Boys back, man. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's fucking awesome seeing them back. Never thought, I thought it would have been after WrestleMania they'd be back. I never thought it would be, oh man. It's just great seeing them back. Now, for the scoop, I don't know about this little thing that's been going on. I watched a few videos on the Hardy Boys reaction. There's a lot of compilation videos on YouTube and that about the fans reacting to the Hardy Boys' return. And I ain't gonna lie, ladies and gentlemen, if I had my camera out, you'd probably saw me marking out as well, because I marked out to it. I'm not gonna lie. I had trademark. I had friggin' goosebumps and everything. Now, what people don't know, and I think it's already been mentioned in the chat here, what people don't know about the Hardy Boys is this. Yes, they came out as their old selves. Matt Hardy had the hair from the Broken Hardy gimmick. What people don't understand is people think that, they were going to bring the Broken Hardy stuff in, and people were like, why aren't they the Broken Hardys, this, that, and the other? Because the Hardy Boys at this moment in time, ladies and gentlemen, are currently in a legal battle. I don't know if it's them involved or their lawyers or Matt Hardy's wife, but Matt Hardy's wife's been very vocal about it. That I can assure you. Impact Wrestling. Anthem. Impact Wrestling, which was known as TNA. I've sued, I think if this is right, but Hardys are in a legal battle with them over the Broken Hardy rights. Broken Hardy package, if you will. Because Hardys were on Impact Wrestling, that they want a slice. It's basically they want a slice of the pie. They want some of the money, the rights to it and everything like that. The rights to the Broken Hardy gimmick. But anybody with a fucking brain knows that the whole Broken Hardy stuff, even I know this, by Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy came up with the gimmick. What you've got to understand is, guys, the Broken Hardy stuff was around in Impact Wrestling well before Anthem came in and took over TNA. I mean, going back to December, that Christmas period, where everybody thought that Impact Wrestling, TNA, whatever the heck you want to call it, was on the verge of going out of business. Impact Wrestling and Anthem should be bending the Hardys over and kissing their fucking asses. Because if it wasn't for the Hardy Boys, if it wasn't for Matt Hardy, TNA wouldn't even be watchable of the Christmas period. It was because of what they were doing at the house, the Hardy household, with all the broken stuff and the final deletion and the Christmas at the Hardy Boys and that stupid tag teams thing that they were doing. People were tuning in to see that. And then, after all of that, over, and now they think they want the rights to the whole Broken Hardy gimmick. Many times on my podcast, and I'll keep on saying it until I'm blue in the fucking face. By the way, check out my podcast as well. A little plug there for you. I believe the links are in the description below. I don't know, but I'm sure they will be. I do Games Matter as well, but I host a wrestling podcast for those of you that don't know. I've said this many, many times. Anthem are in over their fucking heads. It's like I said, people with a brain know that Matt Hardy fucking Hardy gimmick. It was what it was. Man. Anthem come in, oh yeah, it was on our brand and everything like that. We want a slice of the pie and this, that, and shut the fuck up. The only way Anthem can win this legal battle, at least from what I see anyway, the only way Anthem can win this legal battle is if they have fucking good lawyers. You know, if they have blooming good lawyers, man. Because, all. And you know what? The irony about the Hardy Boys, ladies and gentlemen, showing up at WrestleMania is the night before, they were on the Ring of Honor show. Supercard of Honor on pay-per-view. Because they were then the current and reigning champions. But they went to Supercard of Honor and lost their ladder match to the Young Bucks and dropped the titles to the Young Bucks. And yes, the Young Bucks are now the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions again. The next night, and they're in the Raw, and they win the Raw World Tag Team Champions, and apparently they are now 7-time WWE Tag Team Champions. Pretty fucking epic weekend for the Hardy Boys, wouldn't you think? Oh yeah, we lose the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. Oh, the next night we'll go to WrestleMania, we'll take their belts instead. Become the Raw World Tag Team Champions. Unbelievable. Fucking good to see the Hardy Boys. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That thing about the reason why they're not the Broken Hardys now in WWE as everybody expected them to be. And why they came out with the old school theme song, which, Jesus Christ, goes back to 1999 at the most, when the Hardys first broke in. But Impact Wrestling is currently in a legal battle with the Hardy Boys, mainly his wife as well, the Matt Hardy's missus, about the Broken Hardy gimmick. That's the reason why they're not the Broken Hardy stuff. I would imagine if they win the thing, if they win the legal battle, they will probably bring that to WWE. I might be wrong. But it is what it is at the end of the day. But the Hardys are in WWE. They're back. Champions. And trust me, I know a lot of people. I speak to a lot of people, even at my work as well. I've got a lady who works with me at work who fancies Jeff Hardy like mad. She's happy as Larry. Let me tell you, the Hardys are back. Will they be the Broken Hardys in WWE? Battle to sort out first. Now we go from the high point to the low point. John Cena, Nikki Bella against Miz and Maurice. Jesus Christ, this was the shit match. You want to talk about the worst match on the card? This was. John Cena I respect The Miz, even though he is a pain in the ass. Good God, this was bad. The only probably positive side to this match is the fact that Cena asked Nikki, his longtime girlfriend of 2 years, to marry him. Once, Macho Man called from the heavens above and wants his gimmick back, basically. But it was what it was. That was probably the only positive side to it after the match because, let's face it, the mixed tag match stunk. Quite frankly, stunk the joint out. And I did not like it one bit, to be honest with you. Cena and Nikki Bella got their payback and beat Miz and Maurice. Maurice didn't even wrestle the match, from what I saw. There's only certain bits, certain portions of the match he was in for about brief minutes. He didn't even wrestle the damn match, man. But it was what it was. Mixed tag match. Me personally, I didn't like the match. And Cena asking his girlfriend to marry him, it was what it was. It was what it was. Now, get to the non-sanctioned match. Seth Rollins, Triple H, Slayer against the King of Kings. As we expected, Seth Rollins beats Triple H. This was a non-sanctioned match, but I swear for the portion of the match, it was merely a wrestling match. I think they just threw the non-sanctioned rule in there just to say, oh yeah, well, the referee doesn't get involved or anything like that or anything, just let him go, let him beat the hell out of each other and whatever. Unsanctioned wrestling match or a good non-sanctioned fight. What about the SummerSlam 02? Well, Sean's first match back in 4 years. That's a non-sanctioned match. Okay, that's how it's done. This was good, but I would prefer to see that one than this one, quite frankly. Yes, there were certain parts in the match, basically Triple H focusing on the injured leg of Seth Rollins as well. Stephanie McMahon taking that huge bump through the table towards the end, and then Triple H turning around and receiving his own finishing move. Yes, because Seth Rollins took the pedigree after they banned the curb stomp. Still don't understand that, by the way, but anyway. So they gave him the pedigree, and what do you know? The perfect way to beat Triple H. Oh, yeah, I'll just use his own finishing move and beat him with his own finisher. Yeah. Good grief. But other than that, we all knew Seth Rollins would beat Triple H. Triple H winning would make no sense. And Stephanie went through the table, and so you might get your wish because she's off Raw. She's off Raw for a while, so that's why they brought a new GM back, which if I have time, I'll get to later. But yeah, the King of Kings. He's now the Kingslayer, if you will. Randy Orton 101 with Bray Wyatt. I see this match going to SummerSlam. This rivalry. I don't think this match is ended, but like I say, I haven't seen SmackDown yet, and SmackDown's not on until later on, until we finish at last. So basically, when I finish this, SmackDown will probably be starting. Well, Randy Orton is the WWE Heavyweight Champion, the WWE Champion on SmackDown. As I predicted, ladies and gentlemen, Randy Orton beats Bray Wyatt. Poor Bray Wyatt, but Orton would win. Orton is now back on top of the mountain. It was a great match between the two. You'd expect that. Orton wins, RKO out of nowhere, which has pretty much been his motto. Good match for what it was between the two. Beautiful build-up in the story. If you haven't seen it, go back to last year when Randy started this feud with Bray, and then turned on Kane, joined the Wyatts, and pretty much went from there, basically. I mean, hell, at one point, there was a SmackDown Tag Team Champions, for crying out loud. Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton were the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, but it was all story. And then Abigail, and it just went from there. And it was just beautiful to watch, beautiful build-up between the two. And it culminated at WrestleMania, and like I expected, Randy Orton, a new WWE champion. Bray Wyatt probably deserved the win as well, but, you know, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion in a way, because the Royal Rumble lately, if you win the Royal Rumble match, it's pretty much the Money in the Bank. But basically, if you win the Royal Rumble, you're pretty much winning the WWE Championship or the Universal title, whatever belt you decide to go for. You're pretty much winning it at WrestleMania. Pretty much. You know, it's very rare losers at WrestleMania championship match, because the Royal Rumble winner 9 times out of 10 walks out of WrestleMania as champion. It's pretty much that. Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, Universal title. It went 5 minutes like it was expected. But like I predicted, ladies and gentlemen, considering what Goldberg has done to him and what all you peons out there, and yes, you know who you are. All you people, oh, boo Goldberg. Yeah, he hasn't had a wrestling match in front. Shut the fuck up, please. Like I expected, Goldberg was basically put there. And he did his thing. He did what he did at Survivor Series. He eliminated him at the Rumble. And on the Raw before WrestleMania, he pretty much speed him out the friggin' highway. But people pissed on the fact that Goldberg won the Universal title of Fastlane. It was pretty much set up, ladies and gentlemen, for Goldberg to basically put over Lesnar at WrestleMania. But how does Lesnar get the ultimate payback he did to him at Survivor Series? And hell, there's WrestleMania 20 as well. They're horrible match at WrestleMania 20 as well. But what is the perfect way for this to end? Brock Lesnar, Universal Champion. Now, you've done everything else. What haven't you done? Let's give the Universal Championship a little bit more beef, a little bit more meaning, and let's have Brock Lesnar walk out the champion. There you had it. Perfect. You know? And is this the last of Goldberg? We don't know. I'll get to that later on if I have time with Raw. But yeah, Brock Lesnar is the Universal Champion. Hopefully, if I have time, more on him later on. Championship. Battle Royal. It was actually a 6-pack challenge, quite frankly. I was expecting the Battle Royal, I ain't gonna lie. But it was a 6-pack challenge. And just like I expected, ladies and gentlemen, Naomi returns on SmackDown. This match. And what happens? She walks out of their hometown, Orlando, as the champion. She beat Alexa Bliss at Fastlane, but had to drop the title the next on the SmackDown after because she had injuries. Happens. They leave the spot open. They make this type of a match just so she can come back. And what happens? She wins the belt. Predictable. But Naomi is the SmackDown Women's Champion as well. So, you know, the match was what it was, but even I knew Naomi was going to win the belt at WrestleMania, quite frankly. Now for the main event, or what was the main event, Roman Reigns and Undertaker. It's going to be pretty hard for me to talk about, actually, because it seems that WrestleMania 33 is the end of the dead man. Great match between the two, like I knew it would be, but nightmare came true, and Undertaker has 2 losses to his name at WrestleMania. Because Roman Reigns beat him after, I think, about 2, maybe more spears, but the final spear did it, and Roman Reigns walked out to a course of booze and beat The Undertaker. And now I guess The Undertaker doing that passed the torch over to Roman Reigns, and now Roman Reigns runs the ad of WWE, which is the wrestler. Pretty hard for me to talk about because, Jesus Christ, have I been watching The Undertaker ever since he debuted in 1990. 1990! And it seems, at least from what I'm getting, and from what I got after the match when he put his gear in the middle of the ring and walked out, 3 is the last thrill ride for The Undertaker. And it's a shame, but it is what it is at the end of the day. And I think he's had hip replacements, some operations coming up from what I've been told on the dirt sheets with The Undertaker. And I Jesus Christ. It's going to be hard not to see The Undertaker in WWE, man. But he is one of Vince McMahon's greatest creations in WWE, and he is the man. If you enjoy the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not check out the Wrestling Matters podcast right now on YouTube at AJW Wrestling Matters. You can also check it out on SoundCloud at Wrestling_Matters_podcast. That's /Wrestling_Matters_podcast. Also, check it out on Radio Big World as well. For more information on them, you can check them out on SoundCloud and the Swerve Talk Network as well. For more each and every week of the Wrestling Matters podcast, weekly podcast that talk about the best in professional wrestling today, whether it's WWE, Ring of Honor, TNA, ICW, Progress Wrestling, and the list goes on and on. Only the best in professional wrestling. Why? Because wrestling matters, ladies and gentlemen.
I wonder who this 4th team could possibly be.
Goosebumps! You gotta be kidding me! You gotta be kidding me! I am completely in shock right now. This is unbelievable. Matt and Jeff Hardy helped innovate the ladder match, make it what it is today.
Now, I want to get, you know what, gentlemen? That was WrestleMania. Yeah, there were a lot of botches in the match, but I've tried to look past them, to be honest with you, because it was what it was. And the only main thing about it at the end of the day was... But since we've got some time, ladies and gents, let's talk about Monday Night Raw also. Why not? Why not? Monday Night Raw. Now, which leads me into a great segue from what happened with the Roman Reigns, since we're talking about Roman Reigns, because Roman Reigns kicked off Raw this week and basically stood in the damn ring and got booed for 10 minutes. Something. A lot of people, and I've been vocal about this on my podcast as well, yeah, Roman Reigns is a babyface and this, that, and the other. I'm telling you this right now. There's not one person, not one wrestling fan, not one WWE fan, whatever, that could come and talk to me face to face or over the internet or whatever and say to me that Roman Reigns is a babyface anymore. Because I will call bullshit. Basically, he committed the ultimate sin at WrestleMania and taking over the yard from the dead man. Everybody's favorite. On Monday Night Raw And he got booed for 10 minutes. Credit for him for taking the boos. Don't get me wrong. All the credit in the world to him. But no one could come up to me anymore and say, oh, Roman Reigns is still a babyface. Fuck that. Seriously. Fuck that. No one could tell me shit. Booed out the ring. As far as I'm concerned right now, and I'll say it on this podcast as well, this podcast that I'm doing, Roman Reigns is a heel. Period. End of discussion. Roman Reigns is a heel. Babyface. If the next person who comes up and tells me, oh yeah, Roman Reigns is still a babyface and all that. No, bullshit. I call bullshit on that one. Roman Reigns is a heel. You cannot stand in the middle of the ring on Monday Night Raw and get booed for 10 minutes and tell me that he's a babyface. Yes, he's been built by the machine and this and this, but you can't tell me, you can't freaking convince me standing in the damn ring for 10 minutes and getting booed out the building, you're a babyface. Nah, fuck that. Fuck that. As far as I'm concerned, heel. The discussion. Hardys were on Raw this week as well. There was a welcome back party for the Hardy Boys. But then I got told that the Hardys would defend the Raw Tag Team Championships, the newly won Raw Tag Team titles, against Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, the former champions. As we thought, the Hardys still the champions. Great match between the two. I wouldn't mind seeing these two teams go at it again, to be honest with you. You know, the dominant tag team in Japan against the dominant tag team in WWE over the years. But next time, let's put it on pay-per-view. But other than that, it was a great team, great match, and Hardys are still your Raw Tag Team champions. So all you fans out there, don't worry, Hardys are still the tag team champions. Mustafa Ali got beat by Neville, the Cruiserweight champion. But as we all know, it was predictable. Neville's the fucking Cruiserweight champion, for crying out loud. You don't lose to somebody like Mustafa Ali. You know, it doesn't make sense. Unless they're going to give Mustafa Ali a shot at the title. And I don't think you'll be getting that anytime soon, to be honest with you. But, yeah. And just going to what Iron Fist says there, he's still positioned as a babyface. Yeah, he's still positioned, Iron Fist, but after what happened on Raw, no one's convincing me he's a babyface anymore. Because as far as I'm concerned, Roman Reigns is a heel in the discussion on that one. He's just a heel, full stop. He's still positioned as a babyface. To be honest with you, he's still positioned as a babyface, Roman Reigns. Nah. He's still positioned as Vince McMahon's bitch. That's what he is. I'm sorry. But yeah, it is what it is at the end of the day. He is not going to step in the ring with anybody who is a heel, a supposed heel, and get cheered. Because the fans will cheer the heel. They put the supposed heel. And they'll boo him out the building. That's where it's come to now when it comes to Roman Reigns. And I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Anyway, back to Raw. Mr. McMahon showed up on Raw. And now, considering what happened to Stephanie this past week at WrestleMania, taking that bump, she is out. She is out for the time being. And obviously, Vince McMahon was looking to hire in a new general manager because Foley got fired. Operations and that. Behind the scenes. Name as GM. Well, the rumors were true, ladies and gentlemen, because Hall of Famer Kurt Angle is now the general manager of Raw. Yeah. And Raw, even though I hate the fact it's 3 hours, Raw got a little interesting. Yay! Because now we have a new, fresh GM. And obviously, Raw is going to be even more interesting now, at least for the time being, at least for a couple of months at most. That is until Stephanie walks back in. Because at the moment right now, Stephanie is out for the time being due to that bump she took at WrestleMania. So I guess Kurt Angle's in full charge until at least Stephanie gets back. Maybe they'll quit Stephanie and take Stephanie away from being a commissioner on Raw. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. The New Day came out and they challenged anyone to a tag team match. Open challenge. Now, this was because they didn't have nothing to do at WrestleMania except host the damn thing. Out. The Revival, 2-time NXT Tag Team Champions. The Revival are on Raw. I was like Corey Graves, happy as Larry to see this team because they're actually one of my favorite tag teams in WWE at the moment. They dominated the NXT scene, and these two are going to dominate the WWE scene, probably the WWE Tag Team scene as well, the Raw Tag Team division as well at some point when the Hardys are done. And hell, Revival against the Hardy Boys just melts my mouth as a fan. Because them two, that match is going to be epic. And the Revival got their win in their debut match because they beat the New Day. The New Day put them over as well. So what's next for that Revival? They're going to be, obviously they'll be going for the Tag Team Championships, but that'll be a little bit too early. But like I said, the thought of Hardy Boys against the Revival just melts my mouth. Makes my mouth melt with water. Oh, God. Like I said, I love the Revival. In my opinion, the Revival are the modern day Brainbusters. Now, for those of you that don't know, you're probably wondering, who the hell are the Brainbusters? Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, look them up on YouTube. Or Google them, if you will. You know who they are. Is what the Revival are today. Period. Anyway. Raw 6-man women's match, which basically was the leftovers from WrestleMania. Bayley, Sasha Banks, Dana Brooke took on Dana's former protege, Charlotte Flair, Nia Jax, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, she's back, but back to her old self and not Emelina. Emma returned. Dana Brooke's former tag team partner. And Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Dana Brooke managed to get the victory. Dana Brooke is a babyface, and Emma's the heel again. And with them, to be honest with you, and just leave it there. But I can probably understand that right now because Dana wants to Charlotte. But yeah, just a whatever 6 women's match. Sorry. But yeah, it was just a normal, run-of-the-mill stuff and everything. Before I get to the next two, Sami Zayn and Jinder Mahal. Sami Zayn beat Jinder Mahal, which was basically proving to Kurt Angle that he can still go. He is what he is. He can still have that. To Cesaro and Sheamus against Enzo Amore and Big Cass. Enzo Amore, Big Cass went to Kurt Angle looking for a number 1 contendership. This is God's honest truth. To be the number 1 contenders for tag team championships. But Cesaro and Sheamus had other ideas. And they became the number 1 contenders for the Raw Tag Team titles. And they seem to be next in line to face the Hardy Boys, which, to be honest with you, would be a good match. Now, just to go with what Iron Fist said in the chat here, guys. Yes, I'm doing this on the Crumpets and Tea Gaming channel as well. So if you're hearing this, it is what it is. That's why I'm going on the chat. Iron Fist Law 75 just said, will the Revival become another Ascension? No. Because to be honest with you, they're better than the Ascension. The Ascension have been jobs ever since the brand extension started in the Revival's league. And I think the Revival, like I said, will be more dominant and they will get they do, and they will be the tag team champions because, like I said, they're the modern day brainbusters, man, and they will be the tag team champions of Raw down the road. Like I said, the thought of them facing the Hardy Boys just melts my mouth. It really does. And not just that as well. Revival versus Cesaro and Sheamus. And stuff like that. I mean, we may even get to see an NXT rivalry as well. Enzo Amore, Big Cass against the Revival, because them two teams went at it for the ring of the NXT tag team titles. Well, I almost said Ring of Honor there. I got Ring of Honor on my mouth from talking about it earlier on with the Hardys. That stuff. I mean, the Ascension are just fucking to be honest, they should just go back to NXT. The Ascension, in my opinion. They won't go down that route. Iron Fist. I have very confidence that WWE know what they're doing with them. At least. And if they do go down that route, say that they do go down that route with the Revival, then WWE, I'm saying. Confrontation took place on Raw this week and wanted to give the Raw crowd something that they would remember and laid down the law. And Braun Strowman came out and got in the face of Brock Lesnar. Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar down the road. As if Brock Lesnar retained or became the Universal Champion like he did, it will be Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns at the next WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns 2, except this time for the Universal Championship. But he may face Braun Strowman somewhere down the road. I wouldn't mind seeing this match. Put these two on at SummerSlam. Build it up, and stick them in the ring at SummerSlam. I wouldn't mind seeing that match. But Braun Strowman got in the face of Brock Lesnar and made his feelings crystal clear. At least to me, anyway. Now we get to the main event of Raw. Tag team match, main event. United States Champion Kevin Owens against Samoa Joe. Teaming with Samoa Joe, versus Seth Rollins and Chris Jericho. But that didn't last because Chris got jumped during an interview by Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens and got powerbombed through a table. And then Kurt Angle went to check on him and he wasn't able to compete. Who was going to be Seth Rollins' tag team partner? Ladies and gentlemen, he's back. The very first Universal Champion of WWE and the leader of the Balor Club and the founder of the Bullet Club, Finn Balor, is back. He teamed with Seth Rollins and they went on to beat Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe. Two guys that Finn knows very well from NXT anyway, because they've rivaled. Two old rivals from NXT, and Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe. But Finn Balor and Seth Rollins beat Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe to end Raw. Well, which was a great way to end Raw, to be honest with you. And it's great to see Finn Balor finally back in the WWE ring competing, because the guy's been out for a year-ish. At the most. 6, 7, 8 months at top. Because the last time I saw him in the ring, he beat Seth Rollins for the Universal title last year, SummerSlam, only to drop it the next night because he picked up an injury. And that's why we ended up having Kevin Owens instead of winning the championship and that clusterfuck ending, which ended up seeing Triple H turn on Seth Rollins, which led to Triple H and Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Or was the start, anyway. But yeah, that was Raw and that was WrestleMania, guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed that. Thanks to everybody in the chat and everybody who was active in the chat and everything. And I've got 2 more bits of scoop for you. Out. And then I'll wrap this up. Jim Ross seems to be back. He called the Roman Reigns Undertaker match, and quite frankly, he was probably the best part of that match. Sorry, guys. Him back on the announce booth anyway. Jim Ross signs a 2-year deal, or what believes to be a 2-year deal with the company. Ross is back in WWE now. Will he be back on on Raw, SmackDown, or whatever? I don't know what the whole situation is. I don't know the full background to it. All I know is Jim Ross is back with the company. Now, this leads me to believe that he is back with the company. He is back with the company because of, it's just of what's going on with World of Sport, because World of Sport is back full time on ITV very, very soon. Well, TV tapings, things going on very soon with that. And I think WWE wanted to bring him back to stop him from going there, because I think he would have probably ended up being the lead announcer for that show. But thought, WWE, let's bring him back, or maybe it was just sympathy for what happened with JR's wife, because unfortunately JR's wife died this past couple of weeks. So he's had his wife death to deal with. So maybe they threw him a bone or anything like that. I don't know. But JR is back with the company. JR is back with the WWE. And during that kerfuffle, when he announced the GM, which was Kurt Angle, announces that next week it's time to shake things up again. Yeah, the draft seems to be back next week. So, will we see Roman Reigns on SmackDown? Thank you, Survey, for that. Good point, Mark. Will we see Roman Reigns on SmackDown? Because this thing going around that WWE wants another Roman Reigns versus, I'm guessing for next year's WrestleMania. I don't know why they don't do it for SummerSlam, but anyway. But the whole thing is how they're going to do this. And from what I've been seeing, what I'm seeing at least, it could possibly be Roman Reigns going to SmackDown. Since John Cena is now pretty much done with WWE for the time being, there was talks about putting Roman Reigns on SmackDown. And we have to wait and see. I guess we'll find out next week, or during the week anyway, when the brand extension comes along. It's going to be interesting, though. New draft next week. The brand extensions revamped. Going to be a lot of faces on Raw, a lot of new faces on SmackDown as well. AJ Styles possibly going to Raw. We will see. Sami Zayn possibly going to SmackDown. I don't know. I'm just throwing everybody a bone here to see what happens and everything. We have to wait and see. But yeah, it is very, very, very interesting.
Wrestling fans, look no further for the most unpredictable wrestling podcast you've ever heard on the Max Wrestling Podcast, hosted by me, Dazzy Dangerously, with everybody's favourite captains, The Phoenix, The Butcher, and Mike Larkin, plus special guests, promos, and trivia.
Find out what's been going on in wrestling history as I take you down memory lane every week.
And The Butcher's Stupid Idiot of the Week gets it!
And see if you agree with me as I choose every week's Figment of the Week in the world of wrestling.
The Max Wrestling Podcast is available on
YouTube, Podomatic,
Mixcloud, and SoundCloud.
And the Swerve Talk Network with other great shows.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Max Wrestling UK, or go to our website, maxwrestling.wix.com/maxwrestling.
And that's the bottom line.
Because we're out of time.
Yalakalikimaka.
Listen in, man.
Be sure to listen to the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast.
What?
Every Sunday, with Kenny Killer and the Galdem Sugar Shugs.
Yes! Yes!
With all the news, views, and laughter that you want.
They like jet airplanes. Woo! They like long limousines.
Every Sunday, the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast on Podomatic, iTunes, and YouTube.
So why don't you choke on that, slap nut?
Welcome back, everyone, to part 4 of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Hope you guys have enjoyed the WrestleMania and Raw rodeos that I said. Like I said, guys, it wasn't perfect, but it was what it was. But now it's time for the highs and lows of SmackDown and Ring of Honor. I'm going to do that in this one since I've already done Raw. So, Ring of Honor this week, pretty disappointing in a way. 2 good matches on nonetheless. Ray Rowe from War Machine went one-on-one with Davey Boy Smith Jr. In a hard-hitting, brutal match, Davey Boy managed to get the victory. And as predicted, as expected, even though it was a great match, great wrestling match, Kenny King lost his TV title shot to Marty Scurll. And Marty Scurll retained, and it all leads up to Marty Scurll going one-on-one with Frankie Kazarian, although Adam Cole might have something to say about that as well, because Adam Cole's next in line for a TV title shot. I don't know, he might have already had it, I don't know, because this is TV taping still of Ring of Honor, so you never know, he might have already had it, I don't know. I can't keep up with Ring of Honor in terms of their tapings, but anyway. That was Ring of Honor, basically showing you highlights as well from other matches and how Frankie Kazarian became #1 contender for the TV Championship. But now we'll move on to SmackDown. SmackDown was interesting this week in terms of what happened. Yes, I'll give you the I couldn't give a fuck moments, quite frankly. SmackDown Women's Champion Naomi defeated Alexa Bliss. That was the rematch from WrestleMania. Alexa loses the title at WrestleMania. You get your rematch, blah, blah, blah. Ty Dillinger beats Kurt Hawkins as well. Yes, Ty Dillinger is now on SmackDown. But it kicked off with Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton about to fight in the House of Horrors match, which I'm guessing is at the next SmackDown pay-per-view Backlash. And Eric Rowan's back. Eric Rowan came back and reunited with Bray Wyatt. I was expecting Luke Harper to do the same thing when he came out to save Orton, but unfortunately it didn't happen that way. But either way, we had a tag team main event, which Randy Orton and Luke Harper managed to get the victory. Also, there was Shane McMahon and AJ Styles showing respect and preparing for this shake-up that is taking place this coming week, tonight in fact. Nakamura's on SmackDown. How long that will be, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Nakamura is now on SmackDown. And Baron Corbin defeats Dean Ambrose in a street fight, which probably should have been the match at WrestleMania, to be fair. But anyway, Dean Ambrose wins the match on the pre-show. Baron Corbin gets his match, gets his win. This ain't over between these two. Will we see Baron Corbin as an Intercontinental Champion? Who knows? But that is the end of SmackDown. But now I want to bring something up because I was browsing around the internet and I found something yesterday which caught my eye. It seems that JBL is in a hell of a lot of trouble, to be honest. A hell of a lot of trouble. And why is that? I hear you cry. Because it seems they are calling for his head in WWE. And again, what do I mean by that? I will read it out to you right now because I've got a link here which pretty much backs up what I'm trying to say. If I can find it, well, I had it a minute ago, guys. Bear with me, guys. I will find it. I'll be able to find it now. There we go. Got it. I knew I'd do that. I knew if I did that, it'll be finding it quicker. It seems like WWE fans are calling for the firing of JBL after it seemed to be confirmed that he bullied Mauro Ranallo. This caused depression for Mauro and made him leave his commentating role on SmackDown Live. Now, a petition and even a Fire JBL hashtag has been created on social media. This is certainly not a good look for the company. It asks a question, what do you think should happen? To be honest with you, if he's bullying people, get rid of him. If he's bullying people, get rid. Simple as that, man. Simple as that. Get rid of him. But it seems that everybody wants him fired. At JBL, that is. We'll have to wait and see. But he's been known to bully people, whether he denies it, whether he questions it or not. He's been known to bully people because the last time he tried to bully somebody, he ended up getting, well, the last time I remember anyway, he got knocked out by Joey Styles. But it seems that Ronaldo's short tenure in WWE is over, for now at least, unless something happens with JBL. But it seems Ronaldo doesn't want to work with JBL, he doesn't want to come back to SmackDown, and he even says in the article, WWE SmackDown live commentator Mauro Ranallo is reportedly done with WWE, and it seems he's leaving over a depression caused by announce partner John Bradshaw Layfield bullying him. Known for being WWE's go-to stooge when it comes to various media material, JBL is responsible responsible for the bullying of several other superstars. In fact, WWE did the entire storyline around the angle with Miz promoting that JBL was terrible to him at the beginning of his career. It's true. And like I said, one announcer he tried to bully ended up knocking him out, and I'm talking Joey Styles as well. So, yeah. So, apparently, guys, Ronaldo is done with WWE, but will things change if they fire JBL? We'll have to wait and see. I say fire him. To be honest with you, I say just get rid and go. But with that being said, guys, that is the end of this part. Hope you guys have enjoyed that. I will be back with 10 fascinating facts about WrestleMania 4, ICW, and TNA. Stay tuned. Are you sick of professional wrestling? Do you want to speak your mind about professional wrestling? Well, if you like a wrestling podcast, why not tune in to the wrestling podcast where wrestling matters? The Wrestling Matters Podcast. Each and every week, I talk about the best in professional wrestling from WWE, TNA, ICW, Progress Wrestling, Ring of Honor, and the list goes on and on. Also, on the other occasions, I bring guests in as well to shoot the breeze about the one thing that I love, that we all love, professional wrestling. So join me each and every week for the Wrestling Matters Podcast on YouTube, AJW Wrestling Matters, the Wrestling Matters YouTube channel, SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/wrestling_matters_podcast, and any other podcasts that matters. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I do this now. It is now time for the 10 facts of WrestleMania. WrestleMania 4, that is. Continue the WrestleMania top 10, if you will, from World Culture Wrestling. Let's do 10 fascinating facts, and really fascinating facts, about WrestleMania 4. The clusterfuck that it was. And I say clusterfuck because it was okay as a show, but the main thing was, if you remember back in the day when you went out to buy the video, back when videos were around, it was a two-tape pay-per-view. Basically, you had one part, and then you had another part as well. Too much too soon, I'd probably think. But anyway, it was great nonetheless. I liked it. Just too long. Probably the longest WrestleMania that I know of anyway. Number 10, Trump Plaza was not Trump Plaza. Monsoon and Ventura promoted it as Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino, but apparently that was next door from when it happened because it took place in a big hall venue next to the actual casino, the actual place, Trump Plaza. But Donald Trump had the rights to sponsor it and everything like that, so that's how it went away. Number 9, the tournament brackets had a very different look about it. Now, we had Andre the Giant and Hogan go through, get a bye, and they faced each other in the next round, which I believe was the quarterfinals. Hacksaw Jim Duggan faced Ted DiBiase. Don Morocco, The Rock, took on Dino Bravo. Steamboat and Valentine went one-on-one. Butch Reed and Macho Man went one-on-one. Bigelow and One Man Gang and Snake versus Rick Rude was also the matches. But Vince had to make a different thing about it. A different thing in terms of changing the finish and come up with a different outcome because of what happened involving the Intercontinental Champion, Honky Tonk Man. More on that later on though. Next one is the Omni in Atlanta broadcasted WrestleMania 4 on closed circuit. Now, the NWA and WWE were going at it back then because Vince stuck it to the NWA by creating Survivor Series to counter Starrcade. Then he created the Royal Rumble to counter the Bunkhouse Stampede. In March of that year, when WrestleMania 4 was on exactly the same day, the NWA had their very first Clash of the Champions show, which saw Sting go one-on-one with Ric Flair for the NWA title, that 45-minute time limit draw. So Vince is like, oh, you want to play? Okay, we can play too. So what does Vince do? He books the Omni in Atlanta and puts on a closed-circuit viewing of WrestleMania 4. The Omni in Atlanta, the home of the NWA. That's like the NWA putting on Starrcade at Madison Square Garden. You figure it out. Greg Valentine became the first man to wrestle for 3 different belts at a WrestleMania. Because at WrestleMania 1, he defended the Intercontinental Championship. WrestleMania 2, he lost the tag team titles with Beefcake and get to the British Bulldogs. And technically, in WrestleMania 4, he went up against, even though he didn't get anywhere past the first round. No, actually, he got past the second. He got to the second round because he beat Steamboat. He ended up competing for the WWE Championship in that tournament. So there you go. One of Trump's guests at WrestleMania 4 was used in his presidential campaign. Apparently, he was some Russian mob guy that apparently Donald Trump didn't know, or claimed that he didn't know, during his presidential campaign to become president of the United States. But video footage says that he had him as a guest at WrestleMania 4. Yeah, Mr. Trump, El Presidente, was telling some porky pies. And they still gave him the presidential moniker, and he became president of United States. Go and figure that out. Jake the Snake Roberts frightened Donald Trump's wife, or his first wife, with Damien. To be fair, who wouldn't? I don't know why that happened. I believe it was during the match with Ric Flair. With Rick Rude, rather, on the outside. And they didn't show it, but apparently she saw the snake being pointed towards Rick Rude and nearly had a heart attack. I don't think she's the first person that's ever done that, but anyway. The Intercontinental Championship match, which saw Beefcake take on Honky Tonk Man. Again, more on Honky later on, but I'll do this for you now. He had a girlfriend with him, Honky. Peggy Sue was the valet. Not only was Peggy Sue the valet, it had Beefcake challenging him for the Intercontinental Championship, and even What They Call It was there also. What They Call It being Jimmy Hart. So it's a lot to digest, guys, so bear with me. Peggy Sue, here's a little fact, and I think I've mentioned this a few times, but I'll mention it here. Peggy Sue was played by Sensational Sherry, the current women's champion. But since the women's division was a clusterfuck back then, and the reigning women's champion had fuck all to do, the only way they're going to put her on TV or put her on pay-per-view, let's dress her up as Peggy Sue and have her play Honky's girlfriend. Yeah, go and figure that out, you know. But it was what it was. It was what it was at the end of the day. The thought of that, the women's champion playing a valet the way she did. And don't get me wrong, she did it well. She convinced me, but what culture's right, man? It was very weird. Jimmy Corderas, during that match, long-standing referee, Jimmy Corderas refereed the Intercontinental Championship match. And the spot in the match was he was meant to get knocked out by Jimmy Hart to take that ref bump. Apparently, he did take the ref bump, but he caught himself going down and knocked himself out. That is the God's honest truth. So if you go back and watch that match, you'd probably understand why he was knocked out for so long. When you know the truth about certain things, you just have to laugh about it. That's all I'm saying on that one. Demolition's historic tag team title reign that New Day eventually beat began at WrestleMania 4. They won the belts from Strikeforce. 16 months later, I believe in July, they lost the belts to the Brainbusters, who on that same night at WrestleMania 4, they were dropping the NWA World Tag Team Championships to Luger and Barry Windham on this NWA Clash of Champions. They lose one belt 1 year later, or 16 months later, they get the belts back, but they get the WWE Championships instead of the NWA. Pretty cool concept, that. It's very interesting indeed. The next one was, this is the one indeed, DiBiase. Now, we all know Macho Man won the tournament. He won the big tournament. Got to understand this, ladies and gentlemen. He wasn't meant to win it. The idea was for DiBiase to win the championship at WrestleMania 4. But this is how it all came about. The original plan was to have DiBiase go over Savage in the semifinals, and have Hulk Hogan versus DiBiase in the final, and have DiBiase go over by a countout thanks to Andre getting involved. But apparently that didn't go down because of one person, the Honky Tonk Man. Because the Honky Tonk Man was the Intercontinental Champion, and he blatantly refused to drop the Intercontinental Championship to Macho Man Randy Savage. Because they wanted one heel as champion, and they wanted one babyface as champion. Because of Honky not dropping the title, the Intercontinental Championship, to Macho Man Randy Savage at WrestleMania 4, and apparently WWE didn't have any force to force him to drop the title, DiBiase missed out on becoming WWE Champion. And apparently there was heat between Honky and DiBiase over that. But Macho Man got a better deal out of it, because on that night, he became WWE Champion. And to be honest, the idea was for Hogan to chase DiBiase through the summer for the championship. But the best thing about it was, it managed to get one of the best storylines in modern times, in WWE's history anyway, because Savage winning the championship at WrestleMania 4 all was the start of the biggest storyline in wrestling history, in WWE's history, because 1 year later at WrestleMania 5, the Mega Powers exploded. And that about wraps that up, guys. 10 fascinating facts about WrestleMania 4. Hope you guys have enjoyed that. I'll be back in the next part with highs and lows of TNA and ICW and an outro. So stay tuned.
Be sure to listen to the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast.
What?
Every Sunday with Kinny Killer and the Galdem Sugar Shubs.
Yes! Yes!
With all the news, views, and laughter that you want.
They like jet airplanes. Woo! They like long limousines.
Every Sunday, the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast on Podomatic, iTunes, and YouTube.
So why don't you choke on that, slap nut?
Hey guys, this is Mike Larkin.
And this is Stevie Nicks.
To check out the S&M Show podcast and more great audios, check us out on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/MCLarkin92. And we are now on the Swerve Talk Network, Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 3 a.m. UK time, along with the Max Wrestling Podcast, Offshoot Radio, Sunday Segway, and the Wrestling Matters Podcast. And also follow us on Twitter at SMShow1 and at SteveNicksSM. You won't be disappointed. Peace.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the next part of the Wrestling Matters podcast, and it's now time for the highs and lows of TNA. Highs and lows of TNA, if you listen to Wrestling Unleashed with me and Michael Larkin, we've already talked about this, but there wasn't really that much, to be honest with you. The only things that stood out for me was the Braxton Sutter match was definitely the Braxton Sutter angle with that fucking wedding outfit and everything, and apparently, what I call his new girlfriend now. Zack Ryder's new girlfriend, but I didn't care about that. Eli Drake started the show by beating Caleb Conley. Bruce has had enough for Josh Matthews and Jeremy Borash's bickering, and they decided to pick a teams, which I'll get to in a second. Madison Rayne loses to ODB in that gauntlet match, and ODB is now the number one contender. Oh joy. DCC is no more. Kingston and Storm have a confrontation, which turned out to be hilarious, but then Storm kicks both members of DCC. Patron wins his squash match that he had. It seems that Andrew Everett is taking the spot, if you will, to be the next X Division champion, in my opinion, and he will be facing Trevor Lee. He won a triple threat match involving Suicide as well, but now he seems to be the number one contender, and he seems to be next in line to take on Trevor Lee and probably win the belt, I would probably imagine. And then we went down to Josh Matthews. And by the way, Josh Matthews was a complete tool in this show again. That's why I'm finding TNA at the moment a little difficult to watch when you've got that clown on commentary. Hopefully that'll end next week. But anyway, Josh Matthews picked his team, which saw Bram and Bobby Lashley, the current TNA World Champion, or Impact Wrestling's World Champion, as it's probably now known. Eli Drake and Tyrus ended up coming out, and then Chris Adonis and Patron was in there, and then Morgan came running out to make the save, and then TNA Impact Wrestling went off air, and you had to go to the website to figure out who the fourth guy was. A little dramatic ending, but it was revealed that Magnus is back in TNA Impact Wrestling, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I'm still calling it TNA. It's going to take a while for me to get rid of them 3 letters, but it's Impact Wrestling nonetheless. So yeah, that was Impact Wrestling, and hopefully the winner of this team's match with Josh Matthews and JB, the loser, will never be on commentary. So let's go, JB. And yes, there was a good moment in there that JB said, "I'm gonna fuck you up" to Josh Matthews, which I thought was fucking hilarious, quite frankly. And you know what, guys? That is the end of the Impact Wrestling highs and lows. So let's not waste any time. Here we go.
I got something to say from another dimension.
Right, guys, you heard the music. It is time for ICW. That's right, ICW's Friday Night Fight Club. Very good episode this week as well, in my opinion. But, yeah, let's have a look at what happened. Matches were Kenny Williams defending the Zero G title against Martin Kirby. A great match, and do you know what? This was longer than 8 minutes. Yay! They went about 15... maybe 12, a little bit longer. And Kenny, as we all know, it was predictable anyway, but it was a great match between the two. There's no question about that. I very much loved it. And Kenny still retains and goes on to April 16th. Well, he'll be defending that in a Scrabble match. Who against? We don't know. Polar Promotions manages to get back on winning ways again. They beat the Purge, which is Crowbar and Stevie James, and they managed to get, like I said, their momentum. It was a great tag match. Polo manages to get the victory, and it's all building in to their match April 16th, where they've got their blooming hands full against War Machine, and War Machine will be coming to ICW April 16. A match I couldn't care less about, which was Davey Blaze against Aaron Echo, did nothing to me. Ravy Davey owned Lana Austin, because apparently Lana wanted to take him home, but Davey says he's got other plans with his other girl, and Lana didn't take too kindly to it, but she manages to get the upset victory over Viper, which shocked me, but full credit to Lana Austin, she got the upset victory and manages to go on her ways in ICW. A brutal, hard-hitting match, which saw a very impressive win for Wolfgang against Jack Jester. Very impressive. I expected him to win, don't get me wrong. I knew he'd probably win, or Jack Jester might have went over, but Wolfgang, all building into his match with Grado April 16th. But a very impressive win that will give him a boost of confidence, not that he already has any, but he'll give him a boost of confidence going into his match with Grado April 16th at Barrowmania. Joe Henry and Liam Slater. Great wrestling match, but Henry manages to pull off the win. This was just basically pure wrestling at its best, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't believe me, go back, find it, watch it. It'll probably be on the YouTube channel, because lately they've been putting the Fight Clubs on the YouTube channel. They've put 2 episodes on there. So yeah, Henry manages to get the win with a fall-away slam. Not a good debut though for Liam Slater, but there will be big things for him in ICW, I am sure. Ashton Smith and Rampage Brown literally were in tag team action, but literally destroyed Buzzard and Parks. Leighton Buzzard and Michael Parks. They absolutely tore them apart. And they went on to challenge the tag team champions, the ICW tag team champions, Bird and Boar, at Barrowmania, and said if they didn't accept, they would come and take the titles anyway. We shall see on that one. A hard-hitting match, which we expected, between Dave Mastiff and Coffey. Great match, but Joe working on the leg, or what became the injured leg, of Dave Mastiff, backfired on Mastiff because Joe manages to get the victory by tap out with the Boston Crab. Didn't quite work out for Dave Mastiff, but Joe Coffey is the number 1 guy at the moment and the number 1 contender for what seems to be the ICW Heavyweight Championship, because he has that briefcase. Speaking of the ICW Championship, ICW title defended in a fatal 4-way match, which saw Trent Severin, BT Gunn, Chris Renfrew, and Pete Dunne. Best moment of this match for me, the double pedigree by Trent Severin and Pete Dunne on NAK. Just beautiful to watch. But Severin outsmarts Dunne and gets the win over Chris and retains the ICW Championship, because they lured him. He lured Dunne into a trap basically, and Severin took advantage of it. Trent Severin took advantage of it and retained the title. Awesome match, fatal 4-way classic, I would think, and they got a huge round of applause from the Leeds crowd. There was respect shown, but we have apparently seen the demise, or what seems to be the demise, of NAK, because these two can't get back on the same page. They might be best friends, but there's something personal that's keeping them away. It's a shame though. But that was ICW's highs and lows, guys, and Ring of Honor as well. And not Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, my bad. Hope you guys have enjoyed that, and I'll be back in the next part with an outro. So, stay tuned. Are you sick of professional wrestling? Do you want to speak your mind about professional wrestling? Well, if you like a wrestling podcast, why not tune in to the wrestling podcast where wrestling matters? The Wrestling Matters Podcast. Each and every week, I talk about the best in professional wrestling from WWE, TNA, ICW, Progress Wrestling, Ring of Honor, and the list goes on and on. Also, on the other occasions, I bring guests in as well to shoot the breeze about the one thing that I love, that we all love, professional wrestling. So join me each and every week for the Wrestling Matters Podcast on YouTube, AJW Wrestling Matters, the Wrestling Matters YouTube channel, SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/wrestling_matters_podcast, and any other podcasts that matters. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final part of the Wrestling Matters Podcast. Hope you guys have enjoyed the show. I'm going to go through some quick promos. This episode is on STN Network, the Swerve Talk Network. That is Max Wrestling, Wrestling's Unleashed, Wrestling's Worst, Ruthless Aggression Era, Sunday Segway, Offshoot Radio, the list goes on and on. Be sure to check all the good stuff out. You know it makes sense. S&M shows on there as well. Be sure to also check out SoundCloud, Radio Big World, because you can look them up on SoundCloud as well, for the Wrestling Matters podcast as well, because that's where you can find them. YouTube.com/AJW Wrestling Matters for more episodes if you want to see it on YouTube. Also, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, shout out to all the partners as well. For more information on Wrestle Island and the Mystery Island as well, Facebook.com/Back to the Island, Facebook.com/Mystery Island, /Wrestle Island, sorry, I said that wrong a little bit there, but you get the point. But be sure to check all that good stuff out as well. This has been episode 158 of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Sorry for any audio issues with the Wrestlemania and Raw earlier on, but it is what it is. That's what you get when you record on Discord. My name is Anthony Walker, Wrestling Matters, and I'll see you next time. Peace!